Hello friends, welcome to another episode of Aslan Speaks. And today, the title of this episode is going to be Master Your Emotions. Master your emotions. Sorry, it's a little cold out, but it's the sunniest weather it's been in a long while, and I just like being out in nature. So I figured I'd bring nature to you guys as well. I'm coming from Wausau, Wisconsin. I'm on Fern Island right now. So, for like the last week, my intuition kept stirring up this topic about mastering your emotions, because in life, if you're not in control of your emotions, we tend to do things that can have a ripple effect in our lives. We've all been there. Something at your job upset you. Maybe you weren't getting paid enough, or maybe it's a coworker that was being lazy all the time, and you just got tired of carrying their slack, and you got angry, and then you walked off the job. Or maybe it was a lover. Maybe they did something, or maybe they just pushed your buttons the wrong way and you got angry and you broke up with them. Maybe it was a family member who, in a loving way, spoke the truth to you, told you, hey, I see this decision or this action you're doing in your life is not good, and they're coming to you in a place out of love, and they're trying to help you, but because you're angry or you're too blind, you don't want to see the truth, you push that family member away and you continue to do bad or toxic habits, and in that acting out of that emotion, you pushed away that family member that loved you the most. Because most people who truly love you, family members or friends, or even that lover in your life, they speak to you because it's not to upset you or to hurt your feelings. They speak to you because they possibly see that the path that you're choosing in life is wrong, but yet you're not in control of your emotions, and you react in a toxic way or in a bad way. And even like certain choices we make in life, we allow our unchecked emotions to make that decision, and that decision can have ripple effects in your lives. And that's why I want to bring up this subject. You know, like maybe some of us, like throughout life, I've seen people who had the amazing romantic partners or husbands or wives, and they, one moment when they're under the influence of alcohol or drugs, they allow that emotion of lust to take root in them, and they cheat on their partner. And then the partner finds out, and then they don't want nothing. It causes a breakup of that marriage or whatever, because you weren't in check or in control of that lust that's inside you. And I see this all the time. And then you made that one poor decision, and because of that, you lost the love of your life, because you weren't in control of that lust. You had that 20 minutes or an hour of lust fulfillment, and then you lost that fulfillment of love that you would have had the rest of your life. What's more important, that lust, that 15 minutes of pleasure, or do you want that love that lasts a lifetime? We all, even with people who are dealing with substances, maybe you're one of those people who know they have addictions in their lives, and so that you stay away from them, because you know that if you allow your addiction of that, maybe it's alcohol, to take root in you, then it takes you down a bad path, and then you get addicted again, and you can't get off that wheel. But you have one night where you give in to that, I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling sad, and I can't take it, I don't want to deal with myself. So you give in to that emotion of that addiction, and then you start drinking, or you start doing those drugs, and then you're caught, and it captured you, and now you can't flee from that addiction. So I bring this to your attention because we all have aspects of ourselves that we're not in control of. And to become the master of your life, to better your life, to become the better version of you, you have to learn what makes you tick. What aspects of you are bad or not good for you? What emotions control your life? Do you make poor decisions in an emotional state? By controlling your emotions or learning and reflecting on yourself, you can learn to master your emotions, or at least try to control them in some way so they don't make you make a poor decision that'll affect your life for the rest of your life, guys. I'm a highly emotional person. I'm an empath. And when I was younger, I didn't know about this. I was, they should teach this in schools, but they don't. About self-mastery and how powerful your emotions and how they affect you. But like I stated, I was a highly emotional person. And I would go from 0 to 60 real quick. Sometimes it was in anger. Sometimes it was in love, because sometimes I went from super loving. And that could be just as toxic, where someone is not used to that kind of love. And when you overpour that emotional love, some people are repelled by that. Or when you get angry and you make poor decisions, that could cause an effect in your life, guys. I struggled with this for years. And then I realized, I'm a highly emotional person at times. And I had to learn through meditation and mastering my thoughts to learn to rein in my emotions, not to react so quickly sometimes. So I'm freestyling, but I also wrote a script down so that I can better present this information to you guys. So there's power in not reacting. I'm going to repeat that. There is power in not reacting. Because often we allow our emotions to take root in us, and then we react. And sometimes our reactions are not the best. We as humans are flawed. Certain situations or struggles or hardships come up in our life, and we don't react the best to them. We don't always communicate in the best way. We don't always respond in the best way. We allow our emotions to control us sometimes. And then when we allow that lust or that anger or that greed to take root in us, we make stupid decisions. We allow that fear to enter into us. We make poor decisions. Sometimes it's important in life to, before you react, to take a step back and because when we get emotional, we go 0 to 60 real quick, and then we just boom, 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 react. Sometimes it's good to take a step back, even if you're dealing with a family member, friend, or lover. Realize you're getting emotional, and you just be like, hey, let me take 5 minutes or 10 minutes to regather myself. And then you walk away. Instead of being way up here, you get yourself back into a calmer state. And then you make your decisions from a calm state, in a controlled state of mind. Because this is important, guys. If you don't control your emotions, then your emotions control you. I'm going to restate that. If you don't control your emotions, then your emotions will control you. But if you learn to master your emotions, then you will end up mastering the world around you. You'll master your reality. You'll master those relationships, if they're friendships, if they're family members, or if they're romantic in nature. You'll master those work relationships as well. Learning how to react to a situation. Instead of reacting on impulse or out of emotional state, you react in a calm state, in a controlled state. Because sometimes you don't have to react at all. Sometimes you just, sometimes I don't react. I just stay silent. In this world of stressful situations, because this world is stressful sometimes, it can be easy to be caught up in the chaos of this world. It can be easy to be caught up in the dramas of other people, or you yourself in an emotional state, in an uncontrolled state, cause drama in your life. You cause drama sometimes, especially in romantic relationships, because nobody will cause more emotions, or your emotions, to go more crazy than the person that you love. I've been there, guys. Even, I try my best to be the master of my life and be in control at all times, but even all these years later, I still get emotional sometimes. And it's real, you could lose control real easy, especially if it's this person that you love. Love is the most powerful emotion of it all. Fear and depression and sadness is a lower emotion, a lower vibrational state, and love is that high vibrational state. So it's super powerful, it's super intense. You guys all been there when you're madly in love with somebody. It's like you're walking on cloud 9. And that's a beautiful feeling when you meet somebody that just sparks that life back into you. Some of us go around our lives and we're, content with our lives, and then that one person comes along and sparks something in us that we never saw coming. They spark that love. And depending on how you react, you can lose that spark just as quickly as that spark has entered your life. And the reason I share this video is so that you can learn that you are your worst enemy, and by you learning to control your emotions, you can control the situations in your life better, or make better decisions, better informed decisions, so you're in control. And then maybe you don't lose that beautiful human that enters your life, that beautiful friend, that family member, or that romantic partner, all because if you learn to control yourself, then you control, hey, you don't push them away, instead you pull them closer. So love is the most powerful force, guys, and left unchecked, your emotions, when they're out of control, can cause you to react poorly to a situation. Maybe your lover did or said something that hurt you badly, that broke your heart. Because you love that person so much, their actions cut you deep. And I've been guilty of this, where my last relationship, when things weren't going so well, I went on autopilot and I pushed her away. And then a couple of weeks later, I would do the same thing, and it hurts when it's like, hey, he doesn't love me. He's pushing me away. Why? And then it causes an emotional stir in that person, and then they react in an emotional way in an uncontrolled state, and then it just causes more problems and turbulence. Partners in life, friends, family, relationship, they can cause so much pain and hurt in you. They cause grief within you. They cause anger within you. It can cause hurt and pain. And all that emotional triggers can affect your relationships in life drastically. They create emotional wounds or emotional traumas. And some people can get hurt so badly they can't bounce back from it, guys. One of my friends years ago took his own life. At the time, I didn't know he was dealing with a whole bunch of emotional traumas or wounds inside of him. And then something came along that triggered him so badly that he didn't want to deal with this reality. That hurt, that pain, that grief was so much, so intense. And then he allowed his uncontrolled emotions and he made a poor decision. So I bring this to you guys because when you take control of your life, when you take control of your emotions, then you can make better decisions and you don't fall into that lower vibrational state or that lower emotion state, which causes so much grief in your lives or sadness in your lives. Because depending on how you react, it can, like, depending, like, all that grief or trauma or emotion that's stirred up in a relationship, like, depending on how you react, especially with your partner, can either cause a giant rift between you two, you know, even if it's family, friends, or a lover, it can cause such a rift or such a divide that you can't, or like in a way build a mountain so high that you can't overcome it. It could be too great, that rift's too great that you can't repair it. So if you're conscious of your emotions, maybe you could catch it before you make a bad decision, and then you can repair it before it gets worse. Or you can notice that rift is like this, you can fix it before it gets like that. And guys, it's cold. It's like 30 degrees out, so if I'm like, stumbling a little bit, it's because it's cold out here. So if you could stay in control, you can repair that rift. Now, I'm going to be vulnerable with you guys, because I learned the best way to help someone emotionally is to share my own vulnerabilities. So I'm going to talk about my last relationship. First, I loved my partner very much. I didn't know how much I truly loved her until all that stress and chaos of the relationship came floating to the surface. I wasn't sure if I was in love with her until all that normal drama or chaos or figuring out how to be with your partner came rising to the surface. And I was a person of self-mastery. I thought I was whole and complete and I was in control of my life and my emotions until this person came and sparked that fire inside of me. And I hadn't felt that kind of love in years. I was kind of emotionally numb to romantic love. And then out of nowhere, the universe or God or spirit brought this person into my life. And oh boy, it changed my life and it had a lasting impact on my life. Like I stated, I'm usually in control of my emotions, guys. I spent years on self-mastery and perfecting myself because I knew I was emotional. So I learned, I'm like, hey, I have to learn how to control these emotions so I can make better decisions in my life. But even though I learned all this knowledge, when you truly have deep feelings for someone, those kind of emotions are so powerful that even the strongest among us, even the strongest can fail. Even the strongest can falter. My former partner would push buttons in me, and for the most part, she would push my buttons. And for the most part, I think she was unaware of how her actions or her inactions affected me. Because a person can affect you emotionally, they can affect you on a soul level. They affect not your mind, body, and spirit. And you have to be aware of this. I have to admit that there was times in the relationship that I didn't respond the greatest. I didn't react the greatest. Because when she would do something that would push my buttons, or when I would constantly see her breaking her promises to me, I would tend to get emotional and lose kind of control. and I would react poorly and go into like autopilot or default mode and just push her away, like not in a physical way, but in an emotional state. I would just like, one of the times we sat down and talked to each other about what we wanted in the relationship, and then I'd try my best to fulfill those promises to her, and then I would see that her promises were going unfulfilled, and that would upset me. And then sometimes I would get upset, and because I know I'm an emotional person, I would just leave. And then sometimes it would cause me to be like, hey, I don't want to be with you, because obviously things are not going as they should be going. Because it's tough when someone keeps breaking promises to you, that they keep saying stuff over and over. Hey, I'm gonna do this differently, or I'm gonna be a better partner, I'm gonna be more loving, I'm gonna learn to speak your love language, and then basically nothing happens. So before I go, I want to give you a side note, because my former partner, like, she is a beautiful human being, and I love her still, like her heart, soul, and mind. I saw her for who she truly was, and she was a gift. And maybe the universe, she was my gift, and maybe I was her gift. But because we both reacted out of our uncontrolled emotional states, our relationship caused a rift between us. So for a side note, me and my former partner, we got along for the most part very well. She was like my best friend, and I was like her best friend. We were able to communicate with each other in a loving way and sit down and compromise. We were able to do that. But towards the end, we weren't able to do that. And that's like, because we both were in our emotional states, and we both would not give in, and where we both just sat down with each other and be like, hey, I love you, and we're going to figure this out. So like, one of the problems on her end, hold on. So like, one of her problems I stated earlier is that basically we would sit down with each other and communicate in a loving way, and I'd be like, hey, I need this in the relationship, and she'd be like, I need this in the relationship. And then we would come to a mutual understanding, but then a few days later, it was like she would fall back into her same pattern. All talk and no action. But I can't put all the blame on her. I was flawed too. I have to recognize my part I played as well. And all you guys going through this, if it's a friend, family, or relationship, you gotta recognize your part that you played. Your actions or inactions that caused the rift in the relationship. At times I was impatient, like we would sit down and talk, and then I would notice inaction or things weren't changing 4 or 5 days later, and then I would just get emotionally upset and not give her the time to work on making our relationship better. I was impatient. At times I got so upset and frustrated, and I would push her away instead of pulling her closer. Instead of telling her things that bothered me, and I should have you should sit down with your partner and communicate with them and tell them what bothers you, what upsets you in a loving way. Guys, your friends out there, your family members, your lovers out there, your lover, they can't read your mind. Sometimes you think, hey, they should automatically know, but you have to communicate. Like, hey, tell them you're sad. Like, hey, I'm sad, or I'm upset, I'm frustrated. I want this relationship to work, and I want to be there for you, but I don't even know how to say it, guys. You have to communicate with your partner. So instead of sitting down and pulling her closer and communicating in a loving way, sometimes I would push her away. I should have trusted that the love that we had for each other should have been enough. That the love if both of us just trusted our love and both would have been patient with each other, we would have gotten out of that wavy water and gotten to calmer seas. But the both of us would let our emotions get the better of us. Because often I talk about twin flames and stuff, and soulmates and your divine partner. When you meet your divine partner, there's a mirror effect. You tend to mirror each other's energy or frequency. So when they're angry or lashing out at you, you're angry and lashing out at them. And it takes a second to be, when you're in control, you can be like, hey, I'm mirroring this energy, let's change it. Because when you change your energy from being in an angry state to being, or a frustrated state, you could change it to, I'm gonna be loving. And then when you become loving, then your partner will mirror you and become loving as well. So basically, we let our emotions get the better of us. We ended up both sailing into different directions in our lives. There was times when, like, her anger would take root in her, and she basically would shut me out. Instead of coming together and figuring things out in a loving way, finding a healthy, loving solution that we could both live with, she basically would let her emotions get the better of her, and she would go into this mode of, it's my way or the highway. And because we were lovers, I would mirror that energy back and be like, no, it's my way or the highway as well. And it's sad, guys, because, like, I reflect back on it, on that relationship, and it's like, I'm pretty sure I'm an intuitive, empathic being, and the universe brought us together. Spirit of God brought us together. And like I stated, she was my gift, and maybe I was hers. And when you're up and close and personal in a situation or a relationship, you don't realize how amazing of a gift that you have in your life until it's gone. Wow, that's powerful. You don't realize how amazing of a gift that you have in your life until it's gone. And sometimes it has to leave or be gone for you to recognize it, because some of us don't recognize it. I knew what I had. That my ex, like, she was a beautiful soul. She still is a beautiful soul. And I realized how amazing and special she was. So long story short, unchecked emotions can harm your life. Unchecked emotions can make you make poor decisions that will have a ripple effect across your life. We have all been there. Reflect on times where you acted out of in a highly charged emotional state, and you made a decision that maybe cost you the love of your life, or that family member who doesn't talk to you no more because you reacted poorly. So, like, recognize that and take control of those emotions so that you don't make that poor decision that can affect your life for the rest of your life. So, for example, I know deep down my former partner, all she wanted was a person to be by her side and always love her and not abandon her. She had a lot of people that have abandoned her in her life or did her wrong. And I wanted to be that person that not to abandon her. I always wanted to be there for her. She wanted someone to pick her up when she was feeling low. She wanted a partner in her life that she could always rely on and have her back through thick and thin. And I was all of those things for her. My love for her was actually very genuine and authentic. I still have, like, guys, I stated earlier, I still love her. And she made decisions that affected me drastically. And part of it's on me, because I got emotional sometimes, and I broke up with her. And then a day or two later, she would come back, and then we would get back together. And then a couple of weeks later or a month later, I'd push her away again. All because I wasn't in control of my emotions. But also it's her uncontrolled emotions, because she would react on impulse. Basically, I don't know how to say it. You know, we all make mistakes in life. You know, and maybe if I reacted better, we would still be together. But then at the same time, it's not just me. She made decisions that pushed me away, so to speak. She chose to not fully commit to me. She chose, let's face it, she chose other people before me. And that's the hardest thing when you love someone and you know they love you too, but yet there's external factors that are, because it's not just your emotions that affect your life or your partner's emotions that affect your life. There's those friends, family, or ex-lovers that are in the background who are also using their uncontrolled emotions to tempt your partner away, or to influence your partner, or trigger an emotional response in them. But it boils down to unchecked emotions. I just saw a white dove fly right over me, and maybe that's a sign. But bottom line is, if you let your unchecked emotions control your life, then you are in an uncontrolled emotional state. You'll make a decision that could ruin your life or steer you down the wrong path. And I honestly believe that the universe brought her into my life. I honestly think I saved her life. I think she was going down a path of life that if she would have went down it, she wasn't coming back from, or she would have lost part of herself. And we came together, and it was a beautiful relationship for the most part, guys. But then I pushed her away again instead of pulling her closer, and then she went and chose a different path in life. And I tried bringing her back, and I tried working on it, but she chose other people, other places, and the path she chose, I just couldn't walk down that path with her. As much as I loved her, I couldn't walk down that path, because that path possibly would have destroyed me. And it takes two, guys. If you want to fix a relationship, it's compromise, mutual understanding. And that's like one of the things that I talk about is it takes two. It's like you can sit there and compromise and be loving and open the door for your partner and let them come back into your life, but at the same time, if they got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, it can't work. If they're not willing to be vulnerable with you, and they can't just, here's my heart, and then take back their heart, here's my heart, and then take back their heart. If you love somebody, your hearts become one. You guys are one then. And I'm hoping I ramble sometimes, guys. And if my person's watching this, I don't know if she follows me or not, but hey, I still love you. And that night when I asked you for your hand, that's offer still on the table. I forgive. I could look past the mistakes in our lives, because I realized that I made mistakes too. And the only way one could get together is we choose love above anything else. So what is the lesson that I learned from all this, right? The lesson I learned is, if I was in control of my emotions, if I didn't get so frustrated or so upset, or if I could learn to be more patient, I could have chose to react in a better way. I could have chose to communicate in a better way. I could have chose to react differently. And that also goes the same for her. If she was in control of her emotions, she could have reacted in better, communicated better, or made better decisions. Maybe if we both would have done that, we could have had a better outcome. And I used to ask my partner, I'm like, do you love me? And she would never respond. And it's not that I don't think she didn't love me, because here's the bottom line. All that chaos or all that emotional stirrup doesn't, like, if you don't love somebody or you're not in love with someone, then you wouldn't act so crazy. You wouldn't make those poor decisions or be so upset or so hurt. So that's how you know, because when you love somebody, there's nobody more that'll trigger you or upset you or hurt your heart more. But there's also, that love could also not heal your heart and make you feel so happy and so fulfilled. So in life, we make many spoken promises or vows to our partners. Also, there are unspoken vows or promises that go unsaid. But yet, you know that those unspoken vows are still applied. If you marry someone, or even if you're unmarried, but you agree to be someone's life partner, the vows spoken or unspoken are still in effect, or still at play. Through sickness and health, through richer or poor, through the ups and downs, through the good times and the bad times, through the times when you're being a pain in the butt, or when your partner's being a pain in the butt, through the times of your struggles in life, through those successes in your life, through those times when everything's going great, when those times where your battles become their battles and your partner's battles become your battle. Through death do you part. The most important thing, guys, if you find that person that loves you and is always there for you, stop looking at the other side of the grass and thinking the grass is greener on the other side. Realize the gift that you had, and if you lost it, realize that you lost a gift. And maybe it's up to you to do everything in your power to fight for that partner, or fight for that relationship, or fight for that friendship. But you have to become vulnerable. You can't let your anger or your bitterness or your resentment that you held towards that person, because we hold on to that anger and that bitterness, and we're like, this person did this or whatever, and then it causes you not to talk to them. It causes you not to write them a letter. It causes you not to reach out to them. Because you're so bitter, you still let those unchecked emotions control you, and now basically you go your whole life without your lover or your life partner or that friend or that family member. Sometimes you have to say, hey, I'm sorry. I know I messed up. Even if because your partner did things too, but you could come to them and be like, hey, I miss you to the moon and back, and when you entered my life, it changed it, and you create a spark in me that since you were gone, I haven't felt that presence again, and I want my heart to be filled again with your love. Because when you meet your true lover, sometimes you don't realize it at first. Sometimes you only realize it when it's gone, and then you're living your life and you're alone, or you may have, you hook up with people, or you have temporary happiness, but your ultimate lover, that person in your life, is the one that fills your heart. You feel at home. You could be yourself around them. You could be vulnerable around them, and you could just chat for hours. Or sometimes you could just hang out and don't chat at all. You just listen to music, or you walk through the park with the dogs. That's one of the things I miss the most about my relationship is she had some dogs, and I had a dog, and we would just walk in the park with our animals, or we would just watch a movie and just have the dogs lay on the couch. So a lot of people, when they let their emotions go unchecked, forget that they made that vow. They made that vow to that person. Even if it was spoken or unspoken, you made a vow. If you chose them as your life partner, that spoken or unspoken word of that vow, you vowed to love them no matter what. To be there for them no matter what. You vowed to be there for their darkest moments in life and their most glorious moments in life. But we allow our emotions to get the better of us. You know, we're flawed, right? We allow that anger, that bitterness, guys, that resentment, that anger, that bitterness, or that drives your lover, your family, or that friend away. Because they don't want to put up with it. Because, you know, like how many people you give in, you're loving, you're kind, you're gracious, and all you get back is anger or resentment or bitterness. You're sitting there being vulnerable, like, hey, I love you, I want to be with you, or I want to be a good friend to you, I want to be a good family member to you, I got your back, I won't abandon you, let's figure this out. And then they're basically giving you the bird, so to speak. I won't, you know, basically they're giving you one of these, like, F off or whatever. Because they don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to, they're holding on to that bitterness or that anger or that memory that you did this to them. The key is, guys, I had to learn this the hard way, is forgiveness. Not only I had to learn to forgive myself and realize that, hey, I'm flawed and I make mistakes and I've made decisions or reacted in an uncontrolled emotional state that caused a rift between my lover or a family member or a friend. And I had to learn to forgive myself for my actions. But once you realize that, you realize, hey, you got to acknowledge that you made these mistakes, and then you got to learn from those mistakes and not make them again. Because nobody's going to want you back into their life if you say, hey, I made these mistakes, but yet you keep repeating them. You got to learn from your mistakes and not repeat them. You have to say you're sorry. You got to be vulnerable. And then you got to do actions or deeds or to fix that rift. So in my case, basically, guys, I'm just going to stop reading the script here because it's pointless. I'm just going to freestyle. I never held on to bitterness or anger towards my partner. Yeah, she did things like that in her eyes was normal, or I should never reacted to or bothered me so much, but it did bother me. And it angered me that she made, you know, in my opinion, poor decisions. But for me, it was the heartache. Seeing someone you love make decisions or choosing other paths, so to speak, in life. And you know, because I'm a highly conscious being, that I'm like, hey, they're making a decision that could affect or ruin their life. And if I go down that path with them, it's going to ruin my life. And I didn't get bitter. I just got sad and depressed and hurt. I was filled with depression and anxiety and fear. And it made me lose a part of me, basically. I was lost for a moment. And I realized my partner chose me because I was confident. I was positive. I had abundance. I took care of her. I loved her. And I realized I couldn't love her or take care of her because I couldn't love myself. I couldn't care for myself. I got so lost in those emotions, those lower vibrational frequency energies or emotion that just brought me to my knees in life, so to speak. And I had to learn, I had to heal myself before I could heal the relationship. And sometimes you have to heal apart. I couldn't make good decisions for our relationship or our connection when I myself was in a bad emotional state, when I wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't thinking the positive. I was thinking all the all the possible fearful thoughts that I had because of what she chose to do. And so I had learned I had to walk away. That was one of the hardest things I did, because when you love somebody, all you want to do is just hug them, hold them close, and say, hey, I want you in my life. I want to be there. I want to wake up next to you in the morning. I want to see that smile on your face. But if you're not in your power, and if you're letting your unchecked emotions always take root, then nothing's going to get solved, because you're in a uncontrolled state. And then you allow that fear, that depression, that sadness, that heartache to affect your decisions, and then you tend to make poor decisions. And it goes for the other person, if it's a friend or family member or a lover. If they're in an uncontrolled state or not in check in their emotions, if they're allowing fearful thoughts to dictate their lives, because when you're in fear, especially if you're in lack or you don't have money, and you fear that you don't have enough abundance, you make poor decisions to gain money, or you fear giving your heart to someone, so you push them away, or you don't really give your heart to them, because you're like, if I give my heart to this person and truly be open, and they may not love me, because sometimes they don't want to show you. They think that they are filled with darkness, and if they share their darkness with you, that you're not going to love them. We all have aspects of light and dark within us, and if you truly love somebody, you're going to love the whole person for who they truly are. You love both the light and dark in them. You uplift them. And how do you know that they love you? When someone loves you, you can't escape them. Even if you guys are breaking up or don't talk for months, they come back in your life. They write you that letter and say, hey, I love you, I want to be with you, I'm sorry. They fight for you. They call or text you, or they message you. And in life, sometimes we have to let people go for them to discover that they're able to come back to you. Or sometimes they don't come back to you, and you have to be okay with that. So I ranted and raved a while ago, guys. But the ultimate message of this is, don't let your emotions go unchecked. Be aware what emotion in you takes control of you the most. When I was younger, it was anger. When I was younger, I had a lot of things that never went my way, or a lot of broken promises. So I got angry a lot when I was a kid. And then I would react out of anger. So I had to learn, because where did that anger come from? It comes from loss. It comes from grief. It comes from broken promises. And it starts at an early age. And you have to look at your emotional trauma, even how painful it is to look at those wounds inside you, and be like, hey, this was caused by this was caused by that. But even though someone else caused that hurt and pain in you, you can't, unconsciously, if you're unaware of those emotions, you react. Like you had that fight or flight response. And that's what happened in my relationship, because it's sad to say, but I allowed former relationships and hurts and pains, emotional wounds and emotional triggers in me to affect the relationship that I was in. And I would go into that fight or flight mode, and I'm like, oh, she's not fulfilling her promises or whatever, and then I would just get in that flight mode and run away, because I was trying to protect my heart. And then by doing that, it just caused more heartache and hurt in me. So analyze yourself. Do you allow, at times in your life, do you get emotional and then make a decision or react poorly? Do you allow your lust in your life to guide your life, so to speak, that emotion? Because I know tons of guys and women out there who basically all the time they're single. They always have broken relationships, and all they want is a loving, compassionate life partner. And they're always asking, why don't I have a life partner? Why does everyone leave me? Because You're lust. You're jumping from person to person in a lust. You don't choose love. If you only could choose, if you learn to choose love and just be like, hey, I'm going to love this person and be lustful with this one person, then you'll be fulfilled and complete. You'll have that life partner. But you choose love for a moment, you find your life partner, but then you allow that emotional, that lust for somebody else to come in, even if it's for a moment. You don't even love them, but you're lustful for them, and then you jump and you run from your relationship to choose lust. That lust is temporary. Or they choose greed. You know, some people, you know, like family members, you know, I've seen it happen to me in my own life where a family member of mine chose greed, money, over his family. And I love that person still to this day, but they literally chose to lose a brother. And they don't realize that a family member or a brother for life is way better than greed, you know, to have temporary wealth. Because he allowed that greed to take root in him, and he chose to get that money or whatever. It was my father passed, and we had an inheritance, and he chose to take it all for himself. And I still love that person. Yeah, it hurt me what he did, but I still love him. We allow, like, if you're a parent out there, you see your child doing something like dumb, and then instead of being, hey, you made a mistake, let's come together and help you fix your life and make better decisions, instead of being angry and lashing out at them, because that just drives them away further. So learn to check your emotions. And how do you do that? Recognize when you're getting emotional. Recognize when you're being filled with anxiety. And what's the thought behind, what's causing the anxiety? Is it fear? Is it loss? Is it grief? Learn to check your emotions, guys. Check them. Become the masters of your world. Learn to make better decisions and not lash out in anger or bitterness or resentment or whatever. There's endless things. Don't give in to that sadness. I try my best to only think positive thoughts, guys. And for a while, I was so hurt and in heartache that I couldn't even think positively. I was in fear. I missed my partner so badly that it just caused more hurt and pain within me. And then all the fear of what is she possibly doing right now, and then that fear of all the possible toxic things, that my mind would go into the worst places. And what I'm learning is I had to learn to control myself again and be like, no, I wish that person, even if she's not in my life, the best. And be loving no matter what. That I made the unspoken vow to her that I would never abandon her. And I would always love her and always be there for her. So even if we're not talking right now, I haven't heard from her in months. And it's partly my fault. I changed my number and deleted my Facebook and I literally moved 2,000 miles away. Because I was reacting in an emotional state, and I wasn't in control. But now I am back in control, and I choose, even if we don't talk, I choose to be loving no matter what. And that's hard, guys, especially if someone hurt you. And maybe they didn't realize that they hurt you. But you gotta be mindful, guys. Your actions, what you say, your broken promises, your actions or inactions hurt people. Friends, family, so I try to make actions, if I promise you something, I'm going to come through for you. If I say I'm going to be there for you, I'm going to be there for you. If I say I love you, then I'm going to love you. If I say you're my friend, then I'm going to be there for you as a friend. If I say you're my lover, then I'm going to be there for you as a lover. Or if you're part of my family, I'm going to be there for you as my family. So basically, learn to control your emotions, guys. control your emotions, you control your life, because our emotions are so powerful that if they take root up in you, and you're like that, you make, sorry, I can't, my hands are so cold I can't even click my fingers together. You make a split decision that'll affect your life. Learn to take that break. Hey, I'm getting angry right now. Instead of arguing with your partner, your friend, or your family, be like, hey, I'm getting angry. Give me 10 minutes, and you walk away and gather yourself, and then you come back and be like, hey, I was angry, I was upset, this or that you said upset me, and I'm trying to not react out of anger or be mean. Let's come to a compromise, or how do we resolve the situation where there's mutual understanding or both respect? But each their own, you know. Sometimes you have to go through that darkest moment in your life. Sometimes you have to feel that grief. Sometimes you have to have that loss in your life to wake you up. Because some of us are too blind. We have that gift right in front of us, and we don't appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. So the universe, sometimes, just as much as the universe gives you a gift, it'll take a gift away from you if you're not cherishing it properly. If you're not treating that lover properly, you're not treating that family member properly, if you're not treating that friend properly, it'll take it away from you until you learn to do the inner work on yourself. I know I rant and rave about controlling your thoughts, controlling your emotions. But think about it, guys. One bad thought, one bad emotional thing where it takes root in you, and you make a decision that has a ripple effect across your life, guys. You lose that lover or that friend or family member for the rest of your lives because you acted on impulse, or where you could just chose to make differently. Or you were so caught up in your ego that you were not willing to say you're sorry. That you're so caught up in your ego that you didn't want to admit that you might have made a mistake. And that's really hard. And then you push blame instead of taking the blame for yourself. And that's one of the things I had to learn. What part did I play in the breakup? Or what part did I have in that rift? Or how did I hurt the other person? Like my partner, I hurt her because I promised her I would never abandon her. And what did I do? I left. And I feel bad for that. But at the same time, sometimes I wasn't in my right, I wasn't in my power. And I couldn't help her if I couldn't help myself. And if she's watching this, hey, I love you. And I swear by that promise, if you know. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up because I am freezing. And before I go, so what helps me control my emotions? Meditation, inner contemplation. Sit down with yourself every couple, 5-10 minutes a day. Analyze yourself, journaling, write down, start writing. Also, educate yourself. There's tons of self-help books or podcasts on the subject. And lastly, follow your intuition. Follow your inner knowing. Your highest self, your divine self will guide you to the right decision. If your intuition, or let's say you're in a breakup and your intuition is saying, no, I should never go back to that person. But if your intuition is saying, hey, that was the love of my life and I let that person go, I want to build a life, I want to have a family with them, I want to build an empire with them. I was, because some people, I see it all the time, they had that gift in life, and their life, the universe gave them that gift for a reason, and everything, all their hopes and dreams would have been fulfilled. They were just stuck with that gift that the universe gave them. But yet they thought the grass was greener on the other side, so they went to the other side, and now there's no grass. It's all sandy desert because they chose badly. But if they just would have stuck with that, the gift, they would have had abundance in their life. They would have had that family. They would have had their dreams fulfilled. They would have had that happiness. They would have had that adventure in their life. So like I say all the time, your thoughts control your reality. What you think and feel control your reality. You're always one thought, one feeling away from changing everything. Don't give in to your anger. Don't give in to that bitterness or the resentment or that hurt, that heartache, that pain, those emotional wounds. Me, look around me, guys. Look how beautiful everything is around me. I choose beauty in my life. I choose to be loving. Even in the midst of the hardships and difficulties in my life and the struggles in my life, I choose to be positive and loving. And hopefully you guys could get to that as well. God bless you guys. I wish you the best.